our group is in favor of the government of Thaksin. We detest the current government of Waichachiwa because in the first place, Prime Minister Thaksin was rudely ousted when he went abroad and the military staged a coup d'etat, therefore transferring the rule of power from Thaksin to Waichachiwa. And in the first place, Waichachiwa cannot win against a fair fight against Thaksin. That's why he resorted to illegal or illegitimate tactics to gain power.
Well, you said that you were against the government of Waichachiwa because Thaksin was ousted quite unfairly and that he wouldn't win in a fair fight against Thaksin. Well, we think that it is not really the fair fight that, I think that the people during that time had enough, they knew better. So they ousted him because they think he needed to be ousted. I mean, would they oust someone if only 10 people or 100 people out of the majority would agree to oust him? I'm sure that it was also a lot of people also agreed to oust the current leader, and also about the 2008 pending corruption case against Thaksin, and there are also a lot because he owns a lot of corporations, specifically in Thailand, and they're saying that this is where he uses the money of the people to run his company, it was not yet final, but then that is a pending corruption case against him. So we believe that it would be better if the government were purely from the Democratic Party to lessen the misunderstandings that may occur in the government, which resulted to the unexpected unrest in Thailand.
We think that it is unfair to have a new government because, as you said earlier, it wasn't sure if the pending case, nobody was sure if he actually uses the Thai's money into his company so that his family is really rich, or someone some of his relatives owns it. So we actually don't know. We're just basing it on something that we're just basing this accusation because he has the power and he's related in that company. I think that Waichachiwa took control when Thaksin was out of the country because he knew that the poor wouldn't actually vote for him because everyone loved Thaksin because he gave projects and programs for the development of the poor, and that's
So you're saying this is a class conflict?
Yes, it is basically a class conflict because, as you said earlier, Thaksin was labeled as corrupt, and he had a graft and corruption case. But it is not true that he used the money of the people to satisfy his own benefits, because between 2000 and the year 2000 and 2007, the number of Thais living below the poverty line dropped by 57%. And Thaksin launched a variety of programs for the poor, like cheap universal health care. And it is impossible to say that he used the money of the people for his own benefit. And if he did, the majority would obviously protest about it or revolt against it, but they did not.
Okay, so you're saying that it is about class conflict, and you're saying that Thaksin shouldn't be blamed about this certain problem. But the thing is, we have a new prime minister now, who is Waichachiwa, who is actually in control of Thailand. So we should pay our own respect
right for that position, he can actually improve Thailand's current position right now for the better. And I believe that it's not only about the middle class and the rich people who Chihuahua would listen to. If you'd only give him the chance, then he would also listen to the red shirt group. And Chihuahua, being a middle and rich class, being part of that class, I believe that he sees things beyond that. And I believe that he has seen the conflicts before, that he could actually resolve things for the better.
Well, like you said earlier about how we should be submitting to the new Prime Minister, at the time when Thaksin was the Prime Minister, he wasn't treated respectfully because of that. He was ousted, in a way that was not constitutional at all, and it did go against his own rights, and it wasn't respectful at all. So I don't really agree with saying now that we have to submit and respect the new Prime Minister when he got into the position in a very uncouth way. And also, it is somewhat a class conflict because the poor, we feel like it is an exploitation of the poor, especially since now the people who are for the new Prime Minister issue, they're not really the voices of the masses. And right now, despite the fact that he has done a lot and he can maybe solution some of the past problems, a lot of the people are still fighting for tax rights because he did hear their cry and he is sufficing to what they want. It just so happens that, again, he wasn't treated respectfully and he was made to leave for school.
Thaksin was not really born poor. In fact, he was making billions of money on his communications companies, and him supporting the poor means that the exploitation of the poor is not really a given fact. Though this is seen as yellow as the elites and red as the poor, it's not only about class conflict but more on power struggle, since like the elites wanted to retain their power. On the other hand, the poor wanted to gain power.
So everyone wants better society. Thus, in the unrest caused by the two sides, it echoes that Karl Marx's earlier statement that a utopia is achieved through an inevitable struggle.
So Marxism can be applied because of the class conflict that's happening in Thailand. Why Chichiwa being in the middle class means that he knows more or less the situations of both classes. With this, he wants to also reach out to the poor.
And though the new prime minister is from the middle class, it does not really literally mean that he is always in favor of the middle class. In fact, as she said, the middle class could be someone to listen to the both sides, the lower class and the upper class.